so nervous right now. Because like I know so many people here, but yeah, let's start it. So the talk today would be related to creative and commercial, like how to sell things. That was the major things of our business. So many people should be very interested on this. And I'm Ka-Chun. I will be the moderator, and we have Lu Yan, which is like the first Chinese model internationally, and she have her own brand, Gongma, which only started for 3 years, but 5 years, but it feels like over 10 years. And Grant is the editorial director of GQ and Content Asia Pacific, and Alexis is the VP of FAHK Greater China. And we will start. Everybody would have like a small presentations about what they were doing. So we have much more clear pictures about their role in the industry. And we start with Lu Yan first.
Okay, hi. I will speak Chinese to present my company. Then later I will feel more comfortable to use English. So I started modeling like 1999. And then in 2010, I back to China. So I said, okay, my modeling is almost done. So what I like, it's fashion. I want to create my own brand. That's how I start. So I will show the PPT. In 2013, I started my brand. Name Commerciality, which my husband is French, so he gave me this name. And Commerciality sorry, now I use Chinese. Commerciality 是我在13年成立的。Commerciality 的定位 positioning 是
2013.
它的 position 是 independent 当代女性。
And the position is about the independent ladies in the modern society.
在14年的时候，14年我们开始跟买手店合作。那个时候我大概是有14年到15年1年时间，我们跟18家买手店合作，包括连卡佛、栋梁。
In 2014 to 15, within that 1 year, we cooperate with 18 multi-brand stores, like Lane Crawford,
栋梁。
东亮。
15年我开了我第一家店。
And in 2015, she starts her own stores, and the first stores.
Yeah. 一直到今天18年，我们有10家店，从北京、上海、成都、南京、合肥、西安。
And in 2018, this year, we've grown up to we have own stores. We have 10 own stores in 8 cities, and of course, in our collections are available in 18 multi-brand stores around all China.
因为我觉得现在中国消费者在消费升级上面其实走得很快，信息沟通也很发达。那在品牌上，我觉得很多人对中国的品牌是有一种误区的，他觉得中国可能品牌还是停留在那种比较初级，只是为了卖货，没有自己的语言和表现。所以在店铺展现上面，我就请了我最好的朋友 Neri Hu 做design 我的店铺形象，因为我觉得不管你是在什么样的 position， 你都需要有一个很好的 present。
And especially the consumer in China nowadays are more sophisticated and more high demanding on the luxury brands. And the current brand in China, especially the fashion brands, are more low-ended and they don't have their language own concept. So she thinks that she has to lead it on the China fashion market. She invited her best friend, Neri Hu, to design the stores for her.
因为我觉得在我的定位上，我们现在是每一家店我们都是 neighborhood design， 我们每一个 shopping mall department store 或者是街边店，还有专柜，每一个业态我都做了尝试。
And every stores, every own stores, and including the department stores counters are all designed by Neighborhood. And she tries in different aspect.
那今天，在中国，其实消费者对品牌的成长和了解，我觉得是远远超于现在做品牌的人他的认知的。
And the consumer nowadays in China is more mature than and know more than the designer itself.
因为 Comma 今天可能很多人会说，你的定位是在哪？它是既不是 designer brand， 我觉得我们是很好的平衡了设计师和商业品牌的中间这个。那个时候会有人问你的竞争对手是谁，你或者定位是什么样？我觉得我们还蛮 unique 的，我觉得。
As their position is between just a very well balanced between commercial and creative. So when she got interviewed and she always being asked, who is your competitor? But she said, we are unique. We don't have any similar competitors in the market.
这个就是 Comma，
This is Comma.
到今天为止，谢谢。
Thank you so much.
And the next one would be Alex.
Yes. Hi everyone. So I will give you a very brief introduction of what is Farfetch. Just a quick question for the audience: how many of you know about Farfetch? Okay, that's very good. More than in China. How many of you shop on Farfetch already? Okay, that's good. So good. So that started very well. I will give you
Then we can probably skip your presentation.
Then we can skip and we can give like a promotion.
No,
Thank you very much. Bye. So from other guys in the audience, just to recap in terms of business model. So retailers, marketplace. I think it's important to align on that. A marketplace, which is Farfetch, we are not going to buy your product. We are not going to buy. We are going to drive traffic to you by plugging your technology to your inventory to sell your products. When the retailers, they will buy your product, usually wholesale price, and then they will have to sell. So that's, I would say, a main difference. If we look 10 years ago, when the company has been created in Europe, in London, our founders, José Neves, saw that a lot of boutique, a lot of designers with an amazing talent of creation, of curation, didn't have the chance to get traffic, didn't have the chance to be seen by the audience. So we connect all those boutiques, and the tagline 10 years ago was Farfetch, 400 boutiques, one address. Times goes by, 10 years later, the company is stock listed. We work directly with the brands also and with the boutique, but we always keep the idea of how we can promote designers, how we can help people to be seen from a larger audience, not only as is the topic today in China, but also overseas. We talked about this before, how to promote Asian brands, Chinese brands, very talented designers to be seen on their own market, but also overseas, and the other around, foreign brands to be seen in China. So moving on to give you few numbers in terms of customer. If you are a designer and your price point is very high and you look for sophisticated customers, and apparently you are in this room, most of the time Farfetch will have those customers. So people who spend money online, people who spend expensive AOV online, average order value online, and who like fashion, who are sophisticated. Most of our cool cat friends, usually they know Farfetch, and so they have a voice. In terms of key numbers we can share with you today, I will insist mostly on the average basket. So 763 USD, this is our average order value in China, to be more specific, facing the Chinese customer. And as you can see, overseas is a little bit less. So this is the specificities of the market. Chinese customer today is spending money, extremely curious, full of curiosity, and they want to see more, they want to understand more. When you go a little bit more into details in terms of customers, we are talking to, and is interesting when we work with designers because we try to advise them what kind of strategy we should have. Customers in China are extremely young. I think it's something common that we have for all the platforms or a lot of Western brands in China. Most of the time, their customers are the youngest. This is true at Farfetch. Chinese customers are the youngest globally from all the markets we have. And they are also the one, which is good news, the one spending the most. They claim that among of the annual household they have, 15% of this amount is spent in fashion. That's absolutely enormous, especially from a European perspective. In France, trust me, we don't spend this amount of money in fashion, especially right now in Paris. It's hard to shop with the yellow jacket. But it's something very interesting because you are young, you spend money, you are sophisticated, you want to know more. The downside is you need to curate, you need recommendation, you need new brands, you need talented designers, because otherwise, what's the point to shop online if you see the same brands than in any shopping mall? So that's also a challenge that online platform can face. Moving on social media, because here we are in Hong Kong, so of course, WeChat and Weibo will be platform to leverage. WeChat, the key priority. Instagram, it's important. Don't forget that in China, you have 150 million VPN. Even the government try to slow down this. Still, 10% of the online population, even total population, has a VPN. So when you are posting something on Instagram, there's a direct impact, immediate impact in China, on the Chinese customer. I don't know if anyone works for Dolce & Gabbana here, but it's a good example. Yeah. So Instagram, watch out. Every Chinese customer will see it. The potential, the market. So yes. Averagely speaking, 32% of the whole luxury goods, especially in fashion, today are bought by Chinese customers in China or overseas. That's so far the numbers today. When we are moving on a couple of years ahead, it will go to 45%. Some luxury brands, some fashion brands already got 45% today, which is very dangerous. Which is very dangerous because any impact, any slowdown, any PR crisis can basically impact the whole business. So the impact of the global Chinese consumer on luxury is already massive. And of course, the need for luxury brands to localize what they do, the strategy is of course significant. And the last part, which is not on the customer, which is not on the consumers, this is more on the business, this is more on the B2B. When we work with brand partners, when we work with designers, and it can be LVMH or Kering, or it can be a small boutique raising up, they do not ask us in China only to put the product online and hope to drive traffic to get a click and a sales. They ask much more. They ask strategy. How should I position my brand in China? Should be different from the one I have in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, or in Italy. How can I do my content, create it? Can you help? How can I have a proper CRM strategy beside my e-commerce strategy? So this is, so far, the slide you see here right now, it's what any brands, most of the time, is facing in China today. You need to find an e-commerce operator if you don't want to do the e-commerce operation by yourself. You need time by time to work with third-party platforms, not only to sell, but to get exposure. You need to work with media companies, CRM agency, digital agency. It's very costly. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and, of course, money at the end. What we try to do to help the brands, to help the designer, is we try to rationalize everything within 4 pillars, from communication and CRM to advertising and, of course, ultimately sales. So that's, I would say, a specificity, and this is one of the things I wanted to highlight with you before I give the stage to Grant, is Farfetch in China, the positioning is much larger than the one we have in the West. We try to be the brand partner, and in terms of scope of work, of course, to be much more friendly and large. So that's the few words I can share with you right now. Thank you.
And the last presentation will be Grant.
Thank you, Kitchen. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Grant Pearce, as you all heard. And I am currently the editorial director of Asia Pacific for GQ. I've been with Condé Nast for 22 years, and over those 22 years, I've seen a massive change in the media landscape, as I'm sure many of you have also. This was my first issue of GQ, which I launched 20 years ago. And it was 10 years ago that Condé Nast invited me to come to Asia to launch GQ China, or be part of the launch of GQ China. This was the first cover of GQ China, and back then, no one in China knew what GQ was. They'd never heard of the brand, so we had to create the brand from the beginning up. Back then, GQ was a print magazine, a one-platform print magazine. There was digital and there was talk of other platforms. However, we launched with a print magazine. It was directed at a more mature customer or a mature reader. But very quickly we realised that we needed to update not only our profile, but the profile of our customer or our reader. So today, these are the covers that GQ now offers. Both of these young guys in China are major celebrities and influencers. So just to touch on that influencer comments that we've been discussing today, they work for you, and the best way to use them is for them to work with you. And we've found that that's changed our profile, it's changed the identity of the magazine, it's also changed the habits of the consumer. So we now are a majorly digital brand, and I have to say very proudly that China is leading the way in the world of Condé Nast with the digital platforms. We have a very strong WeChat account, which is called GQ Lab, which has been a phenomenal success. And what it's also done for us is create a new revenue stream. So in line with what the topic is, taking creativity into commercial is what we were able to do with WeChat and with the digital platforms. In addition to that, we've also created a major event, which is actually part of the GQ profile in all markets. However, in China, it's become the event of the year as far as a men's lifestyle event is concerned. This year, we were able to not only celebrate Chinese success and Chinese celebrity, but I also brought an international celebrity, that being Donatella Versace, to China, which really, again, reinforced the power of GQ and the power of an international flavour to be added to the Chinese profile. Donatella was a fantastic asset, along with the many other celebrities that joined us to celebrate Men of the Year in China. In addition to that, we not only covered it in the magazine, of course, but on every platform. So much so that within 10 minutes of something happening at the event, it was already on WeChat. So we've become a very immediate media platform now, and a full 361. So I'd just like to show you quickly just a short video of the Men of the Year event and what it's become and how relevant it's become to the Chinese consumer.
Wait, wait, wait. All I do is wait, wait, wait. You're the one I'm waiting for. Wait, wait, wait. You're in the way, wait, wait. It's better than the magical. This space, our place, this room is never gonna feel the same. I play too late to say I should have done it differently. I hate that I miss you, I'd stop if I could. Wait, wait, wait. All I do is wait, wait, wait. You're the one I'm waiting for. Wait, wait, wait. You're in the way, wait, wait. It's better than the electrical. 2 feet, one dance, distance that walked in between. you as much as I should. On Mondays, I miss you next to me. It's better than the vegetable.
酒量深如海。
Okay, so our conversation is starting right now. First of all, I want to ask Liu Yan, because your brand position is pretty clear. It's in between individual designer and a commercial brand, which when you started, you have very clear about that, right? So that's why you start like 10 store in 5 years, which is like very, very fast. So please share what is in your mind when it started.
I think I have to thank you to my modeling job. For the past 15 years, I've been working with all the world designers. So I'm very, I'm not the designer which graduate from school. All my experience from the modeling. So I know the pattern. I love the fabric. So when I start, I basically pay a lot of attention on pattern and fabric. And because the pricing, when I start, I basically, because of my style, even I work as modeling, but I don't like to spend, you can say I'm a little bit stingy, I don't like to spend too much money on very expensive clothes. So then I say, okay, if I buy clothes, if between 2,000 and 3,000 RMB without thinking, if I like, I will buy without thinking. But if come to 10,000, 15,000, then I will think a lot. So that's the way I shop. So I said, okay, then if I think that way, probably a lot of women will think that way. So I already set up the price range. Then when you do a brand, first you have to be passionate and love that style. Basically, it's my style, Commerciality. So that's why that's the name. I think now in the modern time, women have to show different position. You're a career woman. You have to be a mom, wife, and a boss or colleague. So you have to, like now, nobody gonna spend 2 hours to try thinking what I'm gonna wear. So what I like is like sharp, simple, with good quality quality fabric with very suitable pattern. And I think because I'm model and I'm also Asian, so I know Asian women better. Well, Asian women are very thin, so when I start, I try all the pattern by myself, and I go to PV, choose my fabric. That's how I started small with the multi-brand store. When I start, I work with Lian Crawford. I think they teach me a lot about the merchandise, the timing. They push me, because when you are individual brand, you're kind of free in somehow. You are kind of like, okay, when I finish this collection, I just sell. But when we signed with Lian Crawford, you really have timeline. They push us to go earlier than usual. So then I learned a lot from them. I said, okay, since people push me, then I have to working hard to show them, and we can do that. But when I start, I have to say, I don't have plan, thinking how the brand can go, how far can go. I basically learned the same time when I work with professional multi-brands like Lian Crawford, like Dongliang. I learned a lot. So when I worked with them for 1 year, then I said, okay, maybe I should open my own brand. Because my own store. But if I have my own store, then I can get all the database, so I know who is shopping for Commois, what kind of people, what kind of profile. So I just opened one in 2015. After that, I think I'm a fast learning. So with I talk a lot of with my friends, which is all in the fashion business, including like a luxury brand or local Chinese brand. I have to say, when I started, I didn't know so many Chinese brands because when I was modeling, we only deal with the international brand. But when I start knowing the Chinese brand, then I find I'm kind of like a 井底之蛙，怎么说？
Just like
the frog in
the people from the
world.
rural area.
I didn't know all these Chinese brands. I may look down like them and thinking, oh, I don't like that brand. But by the business size, every single one have like 600 store, 800 store. I was like, wow. So then I started talk to them. I learned a lot. That I really like find my way thinking, oh, maybe I should change the way of thinking, not thinking Chinese brand is not, not a professional, but I think they may not know how to do branding, how to do presentation, but when they're doing business, they're very good. So that's how I talk a lot with them. I learn from them a lot. Then I try one standing store in Shanghai. Then I try one with a department store. And then I try like with Taiguhui, the
like the
shopping mall.
Like the Swire Group?
Yeah. So I try all different kind business models. Then I said, oh, it works. So I should open more. Then I opened 10, in 3 years. But at the same time, right now, today, I find, wow, because I was naive. When I opened 4 stores, I said, oh, that's not so difficult. That's easy. So I opened 10, then I see my problem. Management, you have to deal with the staff. Then every day you have, my HR told me, boss, someone gonna quit. I was depressed for...
But still, you have like 10 stores right now, and you started to sell online, work with Tmall like last year, right?
Yeah.
So you still believe more in like retail, right?
Oh, I think that's the best way because you deal with your customer. I go my 10 stores. Sometimes I spend 2 days as I'm in sales, so I learn a lot. Even I'm suffering, but the next year I'm going to open 10 more. because I learned. So now I'm doing my CIM program, right? Launched. Then I have to deal with my accounting software, like all this, because I think the management is very, very important. You have to build your team. I'm lucky. They have girls which is work with me since the day one, and we are still working together. 80% of my staff is since 5 years ago. And today, since we have 10 stores and we work quite well, then I have more money to hire professional people. So I think I'm happy. Now I see China market is very mature. The people to adopt a new brand is very fast. So the way you have to do is know your position and open the right place. Where is your target? How the way they shops. For example, how the way they lives. Now today, if I have to say my customer, they're very, how do I say 高管?
It's like the management. Like the management level?
The management level.
Yeah, the high positioning. They have enough money. They know what they want. They shop, like they go street. They go say, okay, want this. So we have, like all my clients, they buy luxury most of the time. But they also buy me now. So I was quite happy. And we made a joke with them. I said, because my style is very simple, independent. So they said, oh, maybe a little bit like Celine. I said, wow, I love Celine. If I can be like that, I will be very happy. Now Phoebe is gone. Maybe they can all come to me.
All right.
So that's how common it is.
Now, Alex, how can you
It's a very
invite
business,
how
business
can you
conversation,
invite Luyan? How can you convince Luyan to work with you? Like, what can you offer?
Lower commission rates. No, but it's interesting because you mentioned the evolution of the consumers and what they buy, what they don't buy. When I started in Beijing in 2011, I was in the group buying business, so Tuango business. So it was the sophistication of the customers, even when it goes to fashion, was not there. And today, you see people buying stuff online that sometimes you won't even dare to buy yourself. People, they do. And you mentioned something very interesting also as a woman, as a businesswoman. Sometimes as a mother, your minds will be different. As a father, it's much more relaxed, but for the woman, they think more. The evolution of the customers we see today, and then I will go back to your question, the touch points are a little bit different. There's a term I saw in a business magazine from the 90s in the US, they call the Henrys. The raise of the Henrys. What is the Henrys? H, and in spelling in English, high earners, not rich yet. So in the 90s in the US, you check your paycheck and say, well, actually the money is not too bad, but then the car, the insurance, the house, you don't have that much at the end. In China, at the moment, we are getting there in a way. So your paycheck is not too bad, but then you check, the apartments, tier 1 cities, the taxes you pay. It's a lot of money. So you might stay a little bit longer sometime in your parents' place, but you have money to travel, you have money to experience, you have money to spend. And this is, of course, for online platform or for design brands, an amazing pool of customers. Now, going back to business, what we can do, we show it a little bit before, you have the online presence. So a lot of time when a designer brand will go online is not ultimately and only for the sales, but for the exposure. When Burberry moved on Tmall a couple of years ago, the idea is I want to have an official presence in cities when I do not have stores. The market next year, there's some voice on the market, but it might not be easy. Is it cheaper for a brand to invest more in digital? Is it cheaper to open more stores? So usually the decision is quickly made. So for online platform, the evolution and the growth is there. There's no brainer conversation. However, we mentioned it before, 90% of the sales is retail today. 90% is retail.
Retail.
But when you check the customer shopping online today, so the millennials, Henrys, whatever you want to call them, at least the survey we saw, 64% of our customers shop fashion online. 64. So you have a country, China, but you have massive differences between tier 1 cities and the rest. But however, Andrew from LVMH yesterday mentioned it, 50% of the Chinese population is born after 1980. And the way you address them product, the way you communicate, the way you manage them sometimes of human resources will be very different. But from a business perspective, it's a no-brainer for a brand today to leverage online as much as they can with advanced CRM program, advanced digital marketing assets, because at the end, you're going to reach customers you won't be able to reach offline. So
but you still have no Chinese brand.
Oh, you will be the first one I heard.
But why you don't have Chinese brand right now?
So it's very simple. Actually, so Farfetch, to give you an idea of numbers, is 3,500 people globally. In China, in Greater China, we have nearly 400. But until recently, we didn't really push the commerciality from China mainland to the West. So a year ago, if you want to work with Farfetch, you are living in Shanghai, someone will tell you, okay, you call London. Well, it's maybe not efficient. Today, you can manage everything from Hong Kong if you're in Hong Kong, in Beijing if you're in Beijing, or in Shanghai. People will sit down with you, Chinese Farfetch people who know fashion, who are also the customers, so they know what works, what doesn't. And thanks to the data we have, we can advise brands how to do. So clearly to go for designing brands, this amazing brand, you are a very great representation of it. In China, that we want to give exposure, not only on this market, but also globally. It's one of the things we're going to do from next January, next month, actually.
But for the exposure, you mean like some content creating or like...
This will be, I would say, on the services part, but when you get the reach of a Tmall today is in China mainland. The reach of Farfetch is more than 2 million customers worldwide. Not only the Chinese diaspora living in New York or Paris, but 2 million customers. A white American lady living in Los Angeles, she wants to buy your brand, but she might not know about this brand before. She will see it on Farfetch, meaning credibility, authenticity, taste. Then she will be convinced, she might check, buy the product, we deliver to her. So that's, I will say, one of the angles that can be leveraged. Use a network for the global reach you can get, not only for the sales, but I will say for the marketing exposure, the free marketing exposure you can have.
All right. Yeah. So with Grant, so of course we should discuss about these positions of media has been changed like dramatically in these 10 years in terms of like for brand or even like online platforms. So what you positions medias right now, no matter, not only on, of course we have magazine, we have printed magazine, but also digital or like event, which you mentioned. How's the shift?
Well, the shift has been essential to become 360 and to be able to offer every level of consumer or reader or brand participant something that's directed specifically at them. And I think in China what we've seen is, and just like Luan's talking about, her store, her retail presence, our printed presence is still crucial. It might be a little less, but it's still something that I think what we've seen is a return to print, because for a designer, for a luxury brand, nothing looks better than in print. Your campaign translates so much better in print. So we still strongly believe in print. However, to survive and to appeal to the millennial, to appeal to a new generation, we've had to also become very savvy with digital. Condé Nast Worldwide is an excellent content maker. That's what we do. We create content. So what we've done is we're working with brands, we're working with designers to create content that specifically talks to the Chinese consumer. And that's the big difference in media. 10 years ago, you just printed a magazine and you put it out there and no one, you got a letter or two back from a reader, but no one really interacted with you as a brand. Today, it's all about that interaction. It's about us creating content that is relevant to our consumer, our reader, but is also very relevant to our partners, our designers, our luxury brands, and all of the advertisers that we work with. And I think that that's been the biggest change in media, where there is now not only social media, but there is traditional media with a social conscience and a social platform. And that's been really important for us, especially in China, to maintain and to really position the GQ brand as an authority. And that's the other thing that I think is very important, is we're surrounded by influencers and we're surrounded by celebrity influencers. And when that concept first came about, when bloggers and influencers first sort of appeared on the scene, it was very honest, it was very true, and it was real commentary. Unfortunately today, it's paid commentary. And I think what we're finding is that people are looking again for authority, and that's what magazines or the media offers, that true authority. And I think that's the big difference that we're seeing.
I have a question for all of you, because we have been in China market for quite a long time, not only on fashion, but we all do things related to fashion, not only on retail but also media, which part of it. But the China reader and customer change really, really fast. They their taste or what their attentions, and how to adopt. What is the best way? How you face this challenge?
And that's a really good question, because the thing that is so different from my experience in Asia is how quickly not only the Chinese change, but how quickly they learn, and also how incredibly fast their level of sophistication has grown. So to me, the only way that you can keep up with that is to constantly be surrounding yourself with younger people. and that's certainly the way that we've created the business that we've now got, is by really tapping in and taking advice and opinion from a younger person. And I'm sure that that's been the way of the world forever, but today I think it's just much more pronounced. And in fashion, I think that younger vision, that eco vision, that sustainability vision is definitely coming from the younger generation, and that's really what's going to change the fashion landscape as well as the media landscape.
Alexis, what do you think?
No, I fully agree. It's you need to have in your teams people who are not only, I will say, digital or e-commerce expert, but they're also the consumer. So sometimes when you will see your creative team and you will see, a guy with a pink hair, tattoo everywhere, say, okay, but he knows, he's the customer, he buy brand A, B, C, so when he writes something, he can put his customer hat, and then it's your job to convince the brands you're going to do an editorial for, a campaign for that, no, this is what you need to put online. Because if you don't put this online, the customers, they won't simply be ready to read it, and they're going to leave. Especially for a marketplace like Farfetch is very conversion driven. So anything we show has to convert. So that's always the bargaining and the negotiation we have. What type of content matters for the audience we are addressing our product versus what type of brands we are working with. Some of them are very conservative, some of them are very open, but at the end is always, I would say, a discussion you have based on numbers.
But because you have so many data and stuff,
yes.
And when there is something comes out, it's like the data tell you this is right, but you don't believe in, what do you do?
Yeah.
What can you do? You just follow the data, or?
No, I mean, there's an instinct. There's the gut feeling, there's an instinct. There's also the fact that you need to stay on the ground. So if you work in China, you work where? You work in Jing'an Temple in Shanghai. You work in Sanlitun in Beijing. You work here in Hong Kong. China, tier 1 cities, is 5% of the total population of the country. You have online companies like Pinduoduo, for example. The founders will tell you, I address my business to 95% on the whole population. I'm not selling expensive fashion. I'm selling bag of peanuts for 30 kwai. But this is the real China today. So, of course, the potential is absolutely massive, but we need to stay very, very pragmatic, saying that the friends we have, the people we ask advice for, the brands, when they come to Shanghai, they will stay at the Puli Hotel for 2 nights, and then they will meet a customer. But is this customer really representative from the whole country? Maybe not. So that's why when you go anywhere, can be Hunan, can be Xinjiang or Sichuan, always try to meet normal people, try to talk to them. Easy to say, not easy to do, but at least to keep in mind that China is not only Shanghai and Beijing, it's much bigger than that, and the potential of growth is definitively in those cities.
Thank you. And Yuyan, of course, you have experience to share.
I think to follow the young, ideas, creative side, that's great. And you have to use the young language to make your customer understanding, to prepare for the next step. But at the same time, I don't think all the young is good because, for example, because my positioning is for 25 to 35 years old woman. And I don't think the 18 years old will buy my clothes because first, it's not cheap, and maybe for them it's too mature. I think if you know your positioning, that's you have to go. You use the technology, the young people. For example, if I want to promote who take care of my WeChat, Instagram, I will hire someone after 90. Definitely not my age because I'm very bad with Instagram. I don't know how to use the hashtag or these kind of new ideas. But for example, for business side, you have to have someone with experience, they knows. Like if I do, for example, I think in a few years ago, when Bonhomme was very on trend, every single designer used this kind of tone to do collection. But for example, I think that's wrong. That's not my positioning. I don't think my, customer, because they are very elegant, like they're not gonna hoodie yo-yo style, that's weird, right? I don't think follow them is right. But you have to use the trendy a color of the year or something, but definitely not all the ideas.
You have to be true to yourself,
I
right?
kind of stick with my position, but at the same time try to, with media, to find a new idea to make the young have a dream. Maybe when they reach 25, they're 30, they come to me. You know, that's how we do a business here.
You know, it's interesting what you mentioned in terms of positioning. I saw recently, it's a little bit unrelated, an advertising, I think was BMW or Mercedes. They were doing 20 years ago an advertising knowing that the people who are going to see it might not buy, but then 20 years later they had a survey, and the young kids who saw this advertising when they were 14, in their head, when I grew up, I will buy a Mercedes-Benz. Yeah. So sometimes you need to have 20 years ahead, but it's a good example.
20, a little
Inception.
bit too long.
We will all be retired.
We don't
anyway.
even know my brand's still alive.
I think that word aspiration is really important, and that to me is what you're looking for in a younger consumer, is the aspiration. They may not buy today, but as Alexis just said, potentially they'll buy tomorrow, and that's what we have to do with media as well.
To make a dream.
Totally.
We have to be creative to create something new. Yeah.
Innovation and creativity are the two keys, for certainly in our business.
So it's like we don't have much time, so we jump into Q&A. Online versus offline retail in China, what would win in next 10 years?
Well, I think we sort of answered that, really. I think that there's always going to be, it's always going to be essential to have a flagship identity or a store retail identity. I think online's going to grow, and I think it's going to support that concept, but in 10 years' time, people will still want to walk down a street and look at a shop. And I think both working hand in hand is what the future is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the data show you that, you know, online, for our business, actually, luxury fashion will be 25% in 2025. One thing was interesting is you mentioned the authenticity, the credibility of retail. If you are brands coming to China, you are foreign brands, and you might be strong in Paris or in Italy, you are not in China, you have 2 stores. But you're going to leverage your network you have with the Chinese travelers you have in your hometowns in the West to build your credibility. And when they come back to China, maybe you have 2 stores, but you have also online platform, and they can buy from you. So the two work together, absolutely. After there's a cost issue with the retail that maybe online have less, but clearly online sales is growing, but retail will be always absolutely essential, especially in luxury. You need to touch, you need to feel, you need the emotions, so you need to go retail.
And also, I think the retail always gonna be the big part, because some of my staff even told me, you know, the customer come, they just want to talk, you know, they enjoy the way how to shop, the experience. If it's, because people always say online, everything is gonna be online. Of course, if all online, people don't need to buy clothes. You stay home, you can wear your pajamas. So, you know, like, why you go? Because you enjoy that. You enjoy the way how to shop. You touch that. So I believe the online also it's almost like a media. You expose more. I think so. Maybe Farfetch can bring us to the world. Who knows?
We do.
And how different is like the menswear audience and the women's one actually online in China? Is that different from around the world?
Yeah, we are on the gender data split. So to give you a number, so 61% female in China mainland, 69% female in Hong Kong, 31 years old in China, 37 years old average in Hong Kong. Male fashion has by definition a massive potential because Libit is not there yet compared to female. We believe a lot in kids wear. If we talk about fashion, massive business, massive potential. And also you mentioned it before, the family structure in China is very strong. The one-child policy is still very there. So when you need to invest for your child, you don't really think. You don't really think too much. You spend the money, and then when it's for you, then you think twice. But when it's for the child, you think less. So yeah, male fashion is not at the same level than women, of course, but the potential is clearly there.
All right. So I guess we finished.
Anyone has any other question?
Talk for another 2 hours, but yeah. Thank you, everyone.